Hi, buddy. Welcome back to Ox Talks. Thanks for tuning into the show today. As always, I appreciate you supporting the channel, liking the videos for me, hitting the thumbs up button, the bell notification, sharing the videos with people as far and wide as you can. And if you haven't hit that subscribe button, I'd appreciate you doing that for me so we can keep growing the channel. I will say it's interesting to note, although not entirely surprising, that I lost about 15 or 20 subscribers following my video from day before yesterday about the Trump victory in the presidential election. And frankly, I'm totally okay with that. You can't please everybody all the time. People that would hit unsubscribe because of the content of a video that has to do with political preference, that's their loss probably. I think we have a lot to bring to the table from this channel, and my knowledge and experience as a business owner, as an attorney, professional, husband, father, all those things. But again, to those people, wish you well. We want to have like-minded people for sure, although I've always said that the channel's open to anybody to leave comments and to exchange ideas, okay? The thumbnail that, and by the way, I didn't get a video up yesterday. Just as a side note, the state of the law practice, it's very busy right now. Say it's booming. Picked up, I don't know, probably 6, 7, 8 real estate cases in the last just a handful of days here. It's been a big rush. A lot of real estate disputes, escrow disputes, earnest money deposit disputes, title issues. And look, I think I shared this before, in the 08, 2009, 2010 great financial crisis, as that unfolded, I started to see a lot more of those matters come across my desk. I hope that's not portending things to come. Obviously, from a personal perspective, it's great for the business, but it's not good to see people in disputes. It's not good to see people in despair, and litigation and lawsuits and the court system. All that stuff is not only expensive, but it's very, very stressful, very time consuming. So I will keep you posted. But again, that's why I did not get a video up yesterday. I was just in meetings, back to back all day, conference calls, reviewing files, trying to respond to client communications. So the thumbnail you see for today's video is a picture of my grandmother. She has since passed on many years ago, but today would have been her 104th birthday. She was born in the year 1920. And on either side of her in that photo are my two daughters. They are now much older, 17 and 19. They're much younger in that photo. But every time I look at that picture, it makes me tear up because, you can see, the way the sun was shining on her face, and she was smiling, when she was getting a kiss from her granddaughters. I thought it would just always think that's a very, very special picture. So I want to share it with all of you. But I wanted to, and I did spend a little time today digging back into what was the economic climate in this country in the year that Nan, my grandmother, was born. And yes, I miss her very much. She was, I would say, in my younger years, I'd say from 7 years old to maybe 25, maybe 27 years old, long after I became a lawyer. She was very instrumental in my life. She was one of my biggest cheerleaders, one of my biggest supporters, always someone that I could just sit down and have a heart-to-heart conversation with, no matter what it was. And she was a great listener. She was very, very, very introspective, always had things to offer and things to say, and they weren't always good. She was a great supporter, but if there was something that she wanted to critique, she would make it known. So very, very influential person in my life. And as you all probably know and can comment below, there are not always that many people over our entire lifespan that you can say that about. So Nan was one of those, and very, very special. But what was going on in 1920 when she was born? And then she was a young girl through the roaring 20s. And then in 1929, when the stock market crash happened, and then the Great Depression unfolded, for many, many years after that. So, and as a matter of fact, the book, you guys, by the way, Nan did that drawing. It's a pastel. It's not paint. It's a pastel. She was an artist, and she would just sit down and freelance things like that. And before she passed away, she gave me that, and I've always had that with me in my offices. And then I just always kept that where I could see it and enjoy it. And she actually helped me become quite a good artist before my law days when I was more creative. Of course, practicing law kind of stunts your creativity, unfortunately. Who knew, right? But anyway, the book next to that. Guys, if you haven't read that book, months ago, a subscriber suggested I read that book. I bought it. I took my time reading it. It's called The Great Depression. And that's by Benjamin Roth. Again, no links below. I don't get anything by plugging that, but it's very, very interesting to see the patterns from the 1920s when things were running up and everybody was happy. Everyone was living high on the hog, spending like there was no tomorrow, and it all came to an abrupt end. It's hard to not draw parallels between, and by the way, that book was published by Benjamin Roth in 2008, 2009. As the great financial crisis was unfolding. Okay, are we on the precipice of another great financial crisis? Many might say, well, now with President Trump coming into office, everything is going to be perfect, and everything's going to keep going parabolic, up. And look, the stock market the last few days is obviously, showing a lot of strength, but all-time high after all-time high. At what point does it hit a wall and pull back? So let's go back. I'm jumping around a little bit, but let's go back to the year that Nan was born, and 1920. And I pulled some information I wanted to share with you. Hopefully you find it interesting. It says the Depression of 1920 to 1921. So prior to the Roaring Twenties starting, that was a sharp deflationary recession in the United States, United Kingdom, and other countries beginning 14 months after the end of World War I. It lasted from January 20th to January 1920 through July 1921. The extent of the deflation was not only large, but large relative to the accompanying decline in real product. There was a 2-year post-World War I recession immediately following the end of World War I, complicating the absorption of millions of veterans into the economy. The economy started to grow, but it had not yet completed all the adjustments in shifting, it says, from a wartime to a peacetime economy. Factors identified as contributing to the downturn included returning troops, which created a surge in the civilian labor force, and problems in absorbing the veterans. The Spanish flu also contributed to that, a decline in labor union strife, changes in fiscal and monetary policy, and changes in price expectations. It says following the end of the Depression, the Roaring Twenties brought a period of economic prosperity between August of 1921 and August of 1929 until the stock market crash that triggered the Great Depression. And Nan, my grandmother, she was 9 years old when the next downturn happened. Okay, again, sharing more data I pulled up today. In 1920, listen to this. In 1920, the U.S. government debt was $17 billion. You know what it is now? Isn't it like over $35 trillion? Okay, says which was a reduction from $23 billion at the end of World War I. The U.S. experienced a period of surpluses in the 20s, and the debt was reduced by 1/3 under Calvin Coolidge's leadership. However, and here's the takeaway, the 1920s also saw a significant increase in consumer debt, which was a major factor in the stock market crash of 1929 and the Great Depression. Middle-class Americans bought goods on credit using installment plans where they paid for the item over time. Does that sound familiar? Mortgage debt almost tripled between 1921 and 1929, which led to an increase in residential construction. Again, does that sound familiar? Let's talk about what happened in the stock market. Most stocks were trading at 14 to 19 times earning in September 1929, with profits growing faster than stock prices. Some stocks were indeed overvalued, it says, and overpriced as in any market at any time. The bull market of the 1920s allowed credit to be extended generously, so new investors only needed to purchase stock at 25% of its value. The other 75% was borrowed money from a brokerage firm, right? Okay, so margin accounts, right? How much margin is there right now in this stock market at all-time highs? Again, comment below if you know the percentage of margin accounts now. I didn't do the research. At the time of the crash, roughly 600,000 margin accounts were held by brokerage firms out of a total national population of 120 million Americans. It's been estimated that 3 million Americans own stock of some sort, most of small amounts fully paid. Again, that represented less than 2.5% of American population. Unlike today, with most Americans tied to the stock market directly, okay, with retirement accounts, or indirectly with managed pension plans. Most Americans in 1929 were not active in the stock market directly or indirectly. Listen to this. At its peak on September 3rd, 1929, the Dow hit 381.17, $381.17. The crash witnessed losses of 12.8% and 11.7% on Black Monday and Black Tuesday. The market hit bottom almost 2 years later at $41.20, marking a decline in value of 89.2%. This is one writer described in less than 35 months, a dollar invested in stocks shriveled into barely more than 10 cents. So I'll leave it there today with the economic lesson. I just thought that was interesting. If you read this book, it is amazing how this guy was journaling daily or every few days throughout the entire Great Depression as it unfolded, how it impacted businesses and banks, individuals and professionals like myself. And it was brutal, okay? But again, people got ahead of themselves. The debt levels got out of control. Personal spending was out of control, as I just shared with you. And it's hard not to think that we're heading down that same road again, all right? Yes, is there reason to be optimistic? Absolutely. With what's happening politically. We'll see how many more subscribers I lose from saying that. But I'll leave it there today. Thanks for letting me share my personal story here with my grandmother. Happy birthday to Nan. Would have been 104 years old today. So all of you have a great weekend. I think I should be able to get a video up, once or twice throughout the weekend. I'll be around taking some files home to keep working. When you own your own business, there's really no days off. All right, I'll be leaving here to get a workout in pretty quickly. Hope you all will stay with the physical fitness regimen. Let's get healthier and more fit. Okay, have a great weekend again. Talk to you all soon. Bye.